This is the last lesson that goes with 11.1, integers and absolute value. We're on EX3, which is ordering integers. And like your textbook, my directions are going to be to order from least to greatest. And so here we go. Example A, we've got the number 8, the absolute value of 3, -5, absolute value of -2, and 2. I'm going to change my color. And so my suggestion to you when you have to order a bunch of numbers from least to greatest like this, first find the actual value, the true value of these numbers. So for 8, we've got 8. The absolute value of 3, we have 3. -5 is just -5. Be careful if there's no absolute value bars, leave it as a negative. Absolute value of -2 is 2. And then, of course, 2 is the same as 2. So we have two numbers that are exactly the same. I wish I hadn't done that. I am going to change this. What am I doing? Change your last 2. And if you were in the class, I would ask somebody for an example. We'll make it a 4. So 4 is just the same as 4. There we go. Not to confuse you with the same numbers. So now that we have their actual values listed underneath, now you order from least to greatest. Most teachers and textbooks and like the FSA that you're not going to have to take anymore this year, they'll want you to write the original form of the number. And so I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to make this red. So red is my final answer here. My smallest number is in the negatives. It's -5. So I'm going to cross it out because I know I'm done with it then. So I've got -5. My next smallest number is 2. But I don't want to write it as a 2. The original version of the number, or original form of the number, is the absolute value of -2. So that's what I'm going to write down. I've got the absolute value of -2. Next, I've got the number 3. Again, instead of writing it as a 3, I want to write it as the absolute value of 3 because that's how it was written originally. And finally, I've got 4, which is the same both times, and 8, which is the same both times. So this is how you would want to list your final answer. Let's do one more. I'm going to clear my screen so that I have lots of space. So here's example B, and here are your numbers. I've got absolute value of -6, -7, 8, absolute value of 5, and -6. And so again, I'm going to list the true values or the actual values of these numbers. I know absolute value of -6 is the same as 6. -7 stays a -7. I've got 8 is 8. Absolute value of 5 is 5. And -6 is a -6. Oops, there we go. Again, I'm going to list least to greatest. My very smallest number is my -7, and that's how it was in the original form. My next number is -6, and that's how that was in the original form. Next, I have 5. Now, 5 originally was written as the absolute value of 5, so that's how I'm going to write it. Next, I have 6, which was originally written as absolute value of -6. And finally, I have 8. Done. That is it. So your few questions that you have to answer today through Big Ideas, they're all to order from least to greatest. And so the way it looks in your textbook, at least the paper version, the numbers are pretty close together. So it makes it a little confusing because you see like absolute value bars and negative signs and commas. So if I were you, I would actually rewrite them down on a piece of paper and I'd spread out your numbers, kind of like how my numbers were spread out on my screen. That's one thing that usually helps students when they're at least doing it in their textbook. Good luck.